You know the story of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Today we'll discuss some significant figures who lived around the same era. Before we proceed, please show your support by clicking the like button. Now, to the story of Hagar. Concerned that God's promise would not be fulfilled due to her barrenness, Sarah convinced her Egyptian slave Hagar to bear her husband's child. Once pregnant, Hagar's attitude towards Sarah became disrespectful and contentious, leading to mistreatment by Sarah. Hagar, in turn, fled to the wilderness to escape Sarah's mistreatment. As explained in Genesis 16, verses 6 to 11, an angel appeared to Hagar and promised her that her son would become the progenitor of a great nation. Obeying the angel, Hagar returned to serve Sarah and soon gave birth to Ishmael. Tensions rose again after Sarah's pregnancy and childbirth to Isaac, prompting Sarah to demand that Abraham send Hagar and Ishmael away. In the wilderness, God protected them and fulfilled his promise to Hagar to make her son the father of a great nation. As explained in Genesis chapter 17, verse 20, Ishmael fathered 12 sons and one daughter. Islamic tradition traces the 12 tribes of Ishmael, known as Ishmaelites, to the 12 Arab tribes from which early Muslims descended. In contrast, Jewish tradition traces the 12 tribes of Israel to Isaac's descendants through his son Jacob. Now we will divert to the story of Lot. After his father's death, Lot joined his uncle Abraham on his journey to Canaan. Due to famine, they traveled to Egypt, where Abraham presented his wife Sarah as his sister. Due to her beauty, Pharaoh took Sarah for his own. God in turn brought divine plagues upon Egypt. After returning to Canaan, disputes arose between Abraham's and Lot's herdsmen over grazing land. Abraham proposed a separation and offered Lot to choose the land he wished. Genesis 13, verses 10 to 12, describes Lot choosing the fertile land near Sodom while Abraham settled in Canaan. As Sodom and Gomorrah's wickedness grew, God sent two angels to assess and investigate the situation. They passed through Abraham's camp, where he offered the travelers food, shelter, and water to wash their feet. After Abraham's hospitality, the travelers revealed Sarah would bear a son, despite her barrenness, and revealed the nature of their journey to Sodom. According to Genesis chapter 19, verses 1 to 26, Abraham interceded for Sodom and Gomorrah, and the angels agreed to spare them if 10 righteous people were found. After arriving in Sodom, Lot welcomed the men to his home and offered them shelter. Later that night, the men of Sodom demanded Lot bring out the visitors so they could have sexual relations with them. Lot protected them, offering his daughters instead. The angels blinded the mob and revealed their plan to destroy the city. They urged Lot to flee with his family, warning them not to look back. Lot's wife disobeyed and became a pillar of salt after looking back to see the destruction of Sodom. Lastly, the story of Job. A blameless and upright man from Uz, Job feared God and shunned evil. One day in the heavenly realm, angels presented themselves before God. Among them came Satan, of whom God inquired where he had come from. According to Job 16, verses 1 to 12, Satan challenged Job's faithfulness in the heavenly realm, suggesting that Job's faithfulness is purely self-serving and claiming that his devotion is based on the abundant blessings he enjoys. God permits Satan to test Job's faith. He allows Satan to afflict Job, but forbids him from taking his life. Job chapter 1, verses 14 to 17, describes the loss of his possessions, starting with his oxen and donkeys stolen by raiders. Next, a destructive fire consumed his sheep and servants. Lastly, the Chaldeans removed his camels, robbing Job of all his possessions. As delineated in Job chapter 2, verses 1 to 7, Satan again appears before God, challenging Job's faith and suggesting that if Job personally experiences physical suffering, he will surely abandon his loyalty to God. Again, God permitted Satan to test Job's faith by afflicting his body with painful sores. Job's suffering intensifies, and he expresses his anguish and curses the day he was born and longing for death. According to Job chapter 1, verses 18 to 19, Job's 10 children tragically all perished when a mighty wind collapsed the house where they were feasting together. His wife urged him to curse God and die after the loss of his possessions and children. Despite this, Job remained faithful to God. Job's 3 friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, visited to comfort him and engaged in dialogues about the nature of his suffering. Eliphaz linked his suffering to sin, Bildad emphasized God's justice, and Zophar insisted Job repent. Job maintained his innocence, longing for a mediator before God. Job's younger friend Elihu rebuked them, emphasizing God's wisdom and justice. According to Job chapter 38, verse 41, God spoke to Job from a whirlwind after Job challenged God's justice. God responded by highlighting his sovereignty over creation and the universe's complexities. In humility, Job repented and trusted in God's wisdom. In time, God restored his fortunes and blessed him with twice as much wealth and new children born to a new wife. Some Bible scholars identify Job's new wife to be Dinah, Jacob's only daughter. Thank you for joining us today. If you found the video insightful, please show your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel.